Let's do a GatorCAM tutorial with a new visualizer. Okay, I'm going to start over here, but let's just go to a new project. And here's some relevant websites. Here's where you can download GatorCAM, or you can buy it here or on this website at the Google sites. And we're going to be using Inkscape to make that little plaque you saw ASAP. So download Inkscape here. All right, so first of all, let's run Inkscape. And Inkscape looks like this when you start. Actually, let me just start it up in case nobody has it. Oh, and I have a little magnifier off in the bottom corner here, just so you can see things better. I hope it doesn't distract too much, but um, anyway, here's Inkscape when it starts off. And let's do a new document. So we're starting from scratch, and I'll make it into a window. Oh, yeah, here's a Inkscape where you can get it, and there's like a download Windows right there. Also, here's me on eBay. I'm Rain Harvester, rainha-0, and you can also buy it here instead. You download it here with the Dropbox. I have a video how to download it, and also you can buy it here. Okay, so anyway, back to Inkscape. So new document, fresh. Let me close out this window. Okay, so what we do is let's add some text and font. And I think we do our little text tool here. Just select something, and I'm going to type ASAP. Now the cool thing about Inkscape is you get all these fonts built in, and maybe even more depending on your Windows version. So we could do is highlight them, and then I think you choose them. How is it? Doesn't seem like it's choosing them here. Let's see. Text and font. Text. AS. Okay. Okay, there's the preview here. Um, let's see. Let's find one we like. Lots of ones to choose from. I think that was the one I chose, so I'm going to choose that one again. So apply. There we go. Now we're just going to draw a box around it. It doesn't have to be centered right off the bat or anything. Just make it about the size you want. It's telling me it's about 100 millimeters here. I want it even smaller, so I'm going to select that box, hit delete, draw another box, and it's saying it's 96 millimeters. I think that's right. Okay, so now we want to center that. So we go to Object, Align and Distribute. Now here you get to select two objects and have one moved relative to the last selected or the first selected. Doesn't really matter. Let's just choose last. So go to the arrow, select the box, and then hit Shift and click the font. So now we have two items selected, and we are going to use these little icons, center horizontally and then center vertically. Voila! Okay, so next we're done, except there's one important thing. You have to say path, object to path, okay? Very important. So select everything and then do path, object to path. Now, before you do that, I usually save a copy, so because it's kind of undoable when you do that path, object to path. So if you hit Control Z, you can go back, I think. Let's see. Maybe not. So usually save it before you do that step. Anyway, object to path. So let me save this file. Save. I'm going to say save as. No, let's just say save. I think Yeah, it does SVG by default. So I'm going to call this ASAP. Okay, and I'll save it. Okay, now we're done with Inkscape. Now let's go to GatorCAM. And I just did a new project. And let's go to Open SVG. So now there's our test SVG. Oh no, ASAP. Okay, so there's nothing there. What happened? Okay, I guess I didn't do object path select. What was that? Maybe it didn't have everything selected. Path, object to path. Okay, save it. And let's load it again. Open SVG, ASAP. Do you want to merge with the existing shapes? No, I don't want to. I want fresh. Okay, so there you go. If you didn't get something showing up at first, that's why. You didn't select all the objects and hit path, object to path. Okay. So there we go. Now let's select some objects. Look at that. You just select and you pull it down a little more, it knows to take out the middle of the A's. Okay, so let's select those and go to vbit. vbit. Okay, now vbit, we're using the bit number 1 down here. Now that's a 60 degree. I typed that earlier, 60 degrees. If you have a 15 degree, you could put it there. Well, let's leave it at 60. By the way, I also added spindle speed for toolpath. If your controller supports that, your router or your brushless DC motor, then you can control the spindle rate, RPMs, per toolpath. Anyway, so now let's select the whole profile here, this, and we're going to cut that out, so let's hit Profile. Now the profile is still on bit 1, which is a 60 degree bit, so let's go over to 180. That's just like an end mill. Oops, now did you notice both of them were selected? I don't want both of them selected, because now they're both using bit 3. So go back to this one and select bit 1. Bit 1 is on the V bit, and the profile is on bit 3. Bit 3, there we go, bit 3. So let's visualize that. Let's reset the view. Okay, now why is there a big square around here? Okay, that's because we didn't set the origin yet. Let's go to origin, and let's put it right here. And let's see what the visualizer updated. Yeah, visualizer updated it. Now let's do something, reset the view again. It's already reset. Let me show you something with the aligning the origin. I like to use all the wood and not have any wasted wood. So I added this feature where you can select an object. Oops, I'm still on origin. Okay, so now it's gonna put my origin over here somewhere. Let me show you. Let's unhide it. Yep, there it is. Okay, so if I put my origin, let's say I want it off the wood, but I want to use the wood, all of it, up to the edges. So you select an object, like I could select it here, but I want to select the whole object. Go to origin and then click bottom left. Now it's going to put the origin right here, and it's going to offset it by put half your bit width here, and it'll offset it so your origin is far enough away so that you have some space for hold downs to hold down this object when it gets cut out, or before it gets cut out. So we can see in our toolpath here, it's going to cut it out, and the origin is going to be here. So if we have a bigger piece of wood, then we have enough around the edges to hold down. So you might want to increase this a little bit, and it'll automatically update the origin here. And another important thing is let's add some tabs. tabs will hold down the object when it gets cut out. So notice there's no tabs. And let me show you this Z shade here. Z shade will put little shadows in the recessed portions of your carving. And then this little control here lets you direct the light, the position, the direction of the light. So I usually put it in this corner and put the Z shade up. It looks really nice, and you can see how it's going to look when you carve it. So let's take a look at tabs. So if you go over to the tabs, then you can click where you want your tabs to go. And let's put one there, one up here. And you can see in the preview window, it's already populated them. Let's hide the origin. You can take them out and it'll show you exactly where they're going just to verify. I usually hide them on the bottom of a plaque so you don't see them as often as on the top. You can put them anywhere though. Put them on the sides. And let's take a look at the little circles on the edges. That's actually, the red is the toolpath, so this is where the toolpath will get modified for a tab from here to here. So when you're placing the tab, you don't place it on the yellow, centered on the yellow. You want to center it on the red toolpath line. And you can see in this window, it's centered there. If I put it up here, it'll be very thin because it's thinner from here to here. So also the tab radius, if you want to change the tab radius, right click on a profile or anywhere, any toolpath, and down here there's a little tab radius box, and you can increase it and it instantly gets updated here and here. Let's watch that again. So if you go too small, your tabs aren't going to show up. So I usually leave them about 5 millimeters. You know, you don't want too much to sand off. And that's usually good. That holds them in there. And just as a reminder, this shows your toolpath in red. And if I have a finishing pass, let's add a finishing pass. Over here, I don't have a finishing pass, so let's right click on it. And it populates this copied value here. Now let's add, let's say 0.2 millimeters. Let's say 0.3. Let's select the whole line, and then having selected this line, when we hit apply, it's going to apply it to the line that's selected here. So apply, we see the finishing pass. And over here in the window, we see the finishing pass is shown in white. So when we look at our preview, we notice we go the depth in several passes, and then finally, let's hide the bit so we can see it a little better. It'll do the finishing pass. So you see that? It's taking off a little more on this edge. Let's hide the origin. We can even hide the bit a little more. And then if you press D, it'll step. See how it's taking off a little more? That's the finishing pass. It goes at a full depth, so you don't get any witness marks. And it knows automatically to step over the little tabs. It's really intelligent. It also knows to put the profile after all the other tool operations, so you don't accidentally cut something out without tabs and then try to do the middle, like this carving with the vbit. And usually it does the vbits first, I think always. That way, if it messes up on such a minor thing, you don't have to go and do everything else in your work. You know, if you didn't level your bed properly at the Z0 level, and you figured out, oh, that was too deep. Well, at least you made your mistake up front on the real machine, and you don't cut it out and then try to engrave it. It's just too deep or something. Those are all things I thought of and put in GatorCAM to just take the stress out of it and make it much easier. Okay, so that was finishing pass. Right click over here, you can also change the spindle speed. I have it at 2040 RPM. You could put it to whatever you want and select the line on the left and hit apply and it'll get applied to here. This little window comes when you right click on a tool operation over here, like a profile or vbit. Let's right click on the vbit. So it shows you this is the vbit. And this is a little scratch pad area. I found myself always wanting to copy values back into the tool operation, but not having an easy way to do that. So here, if you select a line, you can copy the row many times if you want. And then you can modify things like the final depth or how far you step down. And then it'll save it here. You can save the table and then load the table later. And if you have a thing you want to get rid of, just select it to the left and this makes it all blue here and then just hit delete. It'll delete it. It's a great way. I really like it. These values down here are the defaults that will get populated and they're saved when you quit GatorCAM every time you quit GatorCAM. And then these are project values and they get saved with the project. So you have clearance height. I put it at 12 millimeters. If you guys have any requests, I'll put another one here. And I have fast travel, fast retract, tab radius. Again, these get saved and loaded with the project. So for example, if I save the project here, let's call this ASAP. It saves it to a get file. asap.get. And if we load it again, those values will be there. Open project, ASAP. There we go. Okay, so let's look at the visualizer a little more, see what it tells us. This is new and I love it. So you can optimize your toolpath from here by clicking this button. When you optimize, it'll show you its progress in this window, and you can hit escape, and when you hit escape, it always remembers the fastest way that it previously calculated, and it'll try that one first. But I hit escape just now. It says, oh, I hit escape on the vbit calculation. It was done and I hit escape. Let's try that again. So if we optimize here, okay, so this window might block the progress here. So click in here and then hit escape if you don't want it to go on. Okay, then it was calculating vbit and it finished the vbit and it updates here so you can look at your toolpath to see, make sure everything looks correct. Now let's take a look at the toolpath. If you move this slider, it starts over. Some shortcuts are W goes to the end, S goes to the start, so W, S, S. And you can single step with the D key. Oh, I'm hiding the bit. Let's show the bit. That's a 60-degree bit, so there you go. Now if you want it to go faster, you can hit the E key instead, and these shortcuts are written right here. Let's do the E key now. So it goes a little faster. You can also use the 3 key to go even faster. And going backwards is a little bit slower. It takes a little longer to render. So I usually like going back like by clicking in here and then going forward a little bit. They're both pretty fast, but on bigger items, they get slower on large work pieces. But there we go. So you can single step and see the path in there beside the workpiece. You can see how it steps over. And it shows the last G-code moves, the last maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 G-code moves in the cyan color. And you can actually see those through the workpiece so you can tell kind of what it's doing with X-ray vision. You can also hide your bit. Um, this is kind of see-through. There's another mode where it pulses on and off, and then hide it completely. And you just click this button a lot of times to toggle that. But you can still see the cyan cutting. And then like I was saying before, let's hide the toolpath. The Z shade, it colors the depth a little darker so you get a feeling for what's going on. And then this positions the light direction of the light. So you can see how it looks, different lighting. And you can hide the workpiece, show the toolpath. You can reset the view. If you ever get into a weird situation where you just go too far into the workpiece, you reset your view and gets you back to normal. One thing that's cool is if you look at the bottom, you can see things getting carved underneath. I was gonna put a actual solid piece of wood, but I thought this is too cool. I like this X-ray vision. Watch this. So as it's carving, you can see the bottom. It's like a swimming pool view or something. I really like this view. You can put different shadows on it. So it's kind of like pushing through. Anyway, I really like that view. This is your millimeter resolution. So it attempts to use a lot of memory to make a very fine granular rendering of your object. If you run out of memory, if your computer runs out of memory, it will attempt to make this resolution not so fine-grained. So you can still see your object, but it just won't be as detailed. And I am working to improve this resolution even better, so stay tuned for that. So let's see what else. Okay, the tool bit X, Y, and Z over here, it shows you the current position. So if you want to verify everything is correct, you just look at that. So here we can see Z's at -2, next pass -4, right here. And next pass is -6, except it still steps over for those tabs if you watch. If you single step, oops, there you go. So it says our tabs are at -3. And if we right click over here, we can see how that's the tab height was 3. So the tab height is 3 and the workpiece is 6 right here. So that leaves 3. So the height of the tab is 3. What else? Oh, zooming. So some people don't have a scroll wheel. You use the scroll wheel. I'm using the scroll wheel right now to zoom. You can position the mouse on any feature and it'll zoom into that feature or zoom out. So it's really nice. A lot of 3D packages do not do this and it drives me crazy. You spend a lot of time trying to finagle the view, especially when you're rotated and you want to go in on a particular portion of the model. It just doesn't work on other packages like other CAD programs, and so I made mine work. Anyway, but if you don't have a zoom key, you can use the greater and less than keys. You don't need to hit shift on your keyboard and it'll still work if you don't have the zoom key. It's actually might be faster sometimes to use the keys. And remember, it still zooms in on the mouse. So if your mouse is over here, just make sure to put the mouse where you want it to zoom in. And one of the cool things is you can also rotate it while you're zooming with the keys and use your mouse button to rotate. Okay, so yeah, rotating. Rotating is the same. You put the mouse wherever you want to pivot, and then you click the left mouse button, the primary mouse button, and it'll pivot around that point. Some other ones always pivot around the origin no matter where you are. So if I wanted to pivot around the letter P over here, it wouldn't work. It would pivot around this origin and like it would go off into infinity, and it was really hard to zoom in because it's like this. You're trying to look at the letter P, and it would be rotating from this pivot point of the origin. But look, I can click on the P and it pivots around the P. See that? So I really like the way GatorCAM works in this regard, and many high-end packages don't even do that. Same thing for panning. Okay, right click or the alternate click on your mouse keeps the panning, and it keeps the object under your mouse. So if I pan around this tool bit, you see that? The tool bit, it sticks under the mouse. Let's pan around this letter A. The letter A is going to stick onto the mouse. And if I rotate, same thing. And if I zoom, same thing. Makes it much easier to look into the little areas. Make sure your toolpath is correct so that your object doesn't get cut out and is loose or something. And I don't know, lets you explore all the possibilities of your G-code. So let's go into the new post processor now, post process. So when you save your G-code, it's optimizing the toolpath for the most efficient rendering. The minimum distance it found is 95. I'm going to hit escape, and it's finished. And now you can post-process. Post-process options. So we have a wait time. If you have a spindle speed, it can wait for the spindle to get up to speed. It'll wait 1 second. And then if you don't have spindle speed, you could turn this off. I think Gerbil will still, it won't barf or anything if you leave this on, but if you don't want it, you can turn it off. You can turn off the dwell, that's a wait. This is important, this G-code characters per line limit. Some Chinese machines, they only let you have 32 characters per line. So I added this so you can either go with the full length with all the comments, or you can limit it to 128 characters per line, 64, or even 32. You can turn off the comments if you don't want comments. You want a smaller file, just turn them off. It'll save the G-code without comments. So you just apply it, and it'll show you where it saved the files. Notice that it adds the post-processed quick save to that, and that otherwise it's just called quick save. But also, let's hit OK here. If you go and save the G-code over here without quick save G-code, you can save it to whatever file name you want. So let's call this ASAP NGC. We'll save it. Okay, now it's attempting to optimize again, but it already knows the optimal, so let's hit escape. Okay, so it saved it, and now let's post-process it. It's optional, you don't have to post-process it. But let's go to 128, hit apply. So here it tells you where it saved it in the path, post-processed _ ASAP. And since we used 2 toolbits, it's created 2 more files. Post-processed file part 1, that's the vbit of diameter 3.175, angle 60. And the second part is in a different file called post-process ASAP file part 2. And that's a cylindrical bit, and we put it in bit 3, the tool holder for bit 3. So it created 2 files. Now, if you don't have an automatic tool changer, which I don't, but it allows you to run the first file with your G-code sender, and then it will stop, and then you put in your new tool bit, and then you just zero that tool bit out and run the next file, and then and that way you can have the 2 bits separated. And it's very intelligent the way it saves. it'll try to do all the first tool bits, all the same tool bit first, and then it'll go to the next tool bit. So you don't have to change your tool bit more than twice, you know. But if there's a cutout, it intelligently knows, okay, we're going to be cutting something out, so we need to do everything before we cut out. So in that case, it'll rearrange the order of the G code so that you don't have to change the tool bit as often as other programs might require. I like the sorting that I did. I did a lot of work to make those sorts, you know, deciding when to change the tool bit and such like that, so that it would be less frustrating for people. And let's see. I think that's about it for this tutorial. If you guys have any questions or feature requests, I think I'm going to be adding inches next instead of just, I do everything in millimeters here, but some users wanted inches, so I might do that. But if you have another request, please put it in the comments on YouTube. YouTube comments really keep me going. I like hearing back from you guys, and enjoy GatorCAM as much as I do, I hope. Yeah, please spread the word. I'm trying to, I'm not really good at marketing, but it's really hard. YouTube censors everything when I talk about it on other channels. I don't know. I guess they don't want me to advertise my product. I'm like, hey, I'm just one guy, you know, I'm making this for everybody. It's cheap. It's it's buy once. It's not a monthly plan. You get free upgrades as long as I'm making upgrades, which I have been. Uh, I'm not trying to charge a whole lot for this, but I would like to help get your help spreading the word about GatorCAM. Okay, that's it. Later, Gators.